welcome to the 14th episode of the F1 Breakdown podcast. My name is Jack George Maynard, a news and blog writer at F1 Breakdown, and today we'll be looking back at the Hungarian and the German Grand Prix, and we'll also be taking a look at the silly season and looking back and looking in front more like of news stories and what drivers could be going to what teams and what has been going on in the news lately. But firstly, I'm going to look back at the German Grand Prix, and we had Sebastian Vettel winning that Grand Prix, the first time he's won a race at the German Grand Prix, and the first time he has won a race in the month of July, which was good for Red Bull. And also there was a solid showing from both of the Lotus drivers, with Kimi Raikkonen and Romain Grosjean finishing second and third, which was good for the Lotus team because they needed that result in order to get back into the championship in the constructors-wise and the drivers-wise with Raikkonen. But with the season that Lotus are having at the moment, it's very up and down. They're very strong at the beginning of the season at Australia, where Kimi Raikkonen won the race. Romain Grosjean said that he took a while to get into the groove of the car and how the car was set up. It took him a while to get used to it. But they've been up and down because they've had races where they've gone off the boil, like Monaco, Silverstone. They weren't really there in those Grand Prix. So they needed those races to get back up, but it's the story of Lotus really, like last year in 2012. They weren't able to capitalise on the car that they had, because there's some races they had the quickest car in the weekend, but they weren't getting the results that came with having the quickest car over the weekend until Abu Dhabi at the end of the season. But Raikkonen was virtually out of the title race by then, so there was no point in winning that Grand Prix. They needed to have the results come much earlier in the season. And also then looking to the Hungarian Grand Prix. The Hungarian Grand Prix was a very good Grand Prix for a Grand Prix that doesn't provide much overtaking. I'm a big fan of the Hungarian Grand Prix. I always think it provides good, entertaining races. Yes, there may not be the overtaking side to it, but it's very old school style of F1 tracks as it is. So therefore it's a very old school type of race with cars catching but not being able to pass, even with the uses of DRS and curves that we have nowadays. It's still very difficult to overtake even with those aids that we have at the moment, which was shown by Sebastian Vettel not being able to pass Jenson Button for 12 laps, being stuck behind him, which had a big influence in the race. But whereas Lewis Hamilton was able to pass Jenson Button at that time, and Lewis Hamilton went and won his first race for Mercedes, which he's been promising really to do. Silverstone, I think most of us thought in the first couple of laps that Hamilton looked like he was on it to win that Grand Prix, but obviously on lap 8 in the Silverstone Grand Prix his tyre exploded, one of 4 tyre explosions that we had in that Grand Prix, and that obviously cost him the race victory because he had to make a pit stop punch. He had to go through the whole lap, that basically because his tyre went off at the Wellington Straight, so he had the whole lap basically to get back to the pit, which cost Hamilton the win. And considering that he's had 3 pole positions so far this season, he has been there to fight and possibly win races, but the car has let him down tyre wise basically in those races. But finally in Hungary, it all came good for Hamilton, and he's back in the title race. People say, I've never thought that Lewis Hamilton was out of the title race with because he's only a couple of points behind. He's been very consecutive shows. He's been on the podium, a lot of top 5 finishes this season. Hamilton has, so he's always been in the title race in my opinion. It's too early to rule him out. Yes, he is over 40 points behind Sebastian Vettel at the moment, but there's still 9 races left in the Formula 1 season, and that's many points still to happen, and anything can happen in Formula 1. Look at last season with Fernando Alonso in Spa, with that incident in the first corner, which was catastrophic. But that cost Alonso. Alonso could have got points in that race, and he only lost the championship by I think 3 points, I think it was. And he could have got 4 points in that race easily, and that would have been the world championship. And if you look at Suzuka, Alonso didn't finish that race as well, with an incident with Kimi Raikkonen going down into the first corner, and yet again 25 points down the drain into Vettel's hands. And Vettel's title chances last season swung at that point, and he was leading the championship. So it's still to play for, even though that Sebastian Vettel is 38 points clear in the World Championship. But Red Bull, I think at the moment do have the best all-round package car at the moment, which is not a surprise considering that they have Adrian Newey at the helm at the moment. But we need Mercedes to, push on now from these results, because yes, they've won in Monaco, won in Silverstone with Rosberg, now won in Hungary with Hamilton. They need to carry on pushing, and they say that Spa and Monza are the tracks where they think, yes, we can be quick here. They're quite low on tyre wear, so hopefully that they can have a good result there and challenge the Red Bulls, because we need someone really to challenge the Red Bulls sooner rather than later, because yes, we are at the halfway point of the season, but if Red Bull run away with the next two races, it's even harder to catch Red Bull, and the titles will be over fairly soon, and they'll just be racing for pride at the moment. So we do need Mercedes really to step up the challenge. We need Lotus to be there as well to try and take points off Sebastian Vettel and try and keep the Formula One title for everyone much more even and much more entertaining, so it goes down to the wire, because when races go down to the wire like it did last year for the title at Brazil, it brings in so many more viewers. It brings in, it's good for the sport in that sense, because there's a lot of publicity around it, and Formula One's big in the news, big in the papers. So for that element for Formula One, it's needed that it be a big title fight instead of just Sebastian Vettel running away with it again, like he's done really in the last couple of seasons. But so we need to hope that Mercedes, push on and find a way forward at the moment. But now then, as we stand at the moment, we have just completed the first week of silly season, basically. We're in the summer break, and now there's moves talking, and we could be hearing, by the time we're at Spa, who will be the new replacement at Red Bull for Mark Webber. It looks like over the last couple of days that Alonso is ruling himself out for the seat, but I don't think I think he's playing his cards right, numbering it down, because we all now know that his manager had a word with Christian Horner. Yes, the manager said it was about Carlos Sainz Jr. maybe for the Toro Rosso drive next year if Ricciardo was to go to Red Bull. But Alonso, Ferrari not really there again this season, and it's getting frustrating for Alonso, because last year Alonso drove the wheels off that car to get into that position, because I don't think for most of the season that car deserved really to be in the top flight of the table, because Massa was struggling, and Massa's he had a good end to the season, but the car wasn't still quick. It was still the third or second quickest car on the grid, so it wasn't as quick as the Red Bull. So for the results Alonso did last season, it was really good, and this season yet again the car doesn't seem to be as quick as the Red Bulls, as the Lotuses and Mercedes, and he's falling back in the championship. And I don't think Alonso wants this anymore. He wants to be able to challenge for, championships. And at the moment, Ferrari has not been delivering. And to be honest with you, Ferrari haven't been delivering for another couple of years. 2010, it wasn't too good. 2011, it wasn't very strong. Red Bull ran away with it. Ferrari haven't made a real strong car for Fernando Alonso to really, stick his teeth into yet. And I think Alonso has overdriven the car that he's had so far this season in order to get the positions that he has got into. And it seems this season it's proven harder to outdrive the car, because everyone is so much quicker than the Ferraris. And I think that is annoying Fernando Alonso, so I would not be surprised that Alonso's name has been drawn into the hat for the Red Bull seat. But to be honest with you, I think that Ricciardo literally has his name on that seat already for next season. I think that Red Bull have faith in their young driver program and take Ricciardo, not just because it's an easy take, and Sebastian Vettel will still be number one, because we got Kimi Raikkonen, who's also a big contender for the seat. But I can't see Alonso or Raikkonen going into that team, because they all know, everybody knows, that Red Bull at the moment is a Sebastian Vettel environment. So why would you go in there unless you know that you're going to get equal opportunities? Because I still, to this day, don't believe, and have ever believed, that the cars that Mark Webber and Sebastian Vettel's car are equal. And when you've got Dr. Helmut Marko, one of the most influential people in that Red Bull garage, on Sebastian Vettel's side of the garage all the time, then that Sebastian Vettel's team to be in. So why would a big name who wants to fight for world champions, who wants to beat Sebastian Vettel, go to Red Bull when, can you ever believe that you are in the title fight? I don't think so. Or when they have an equal car, it's very hard to judge. You would hope so, and Red Bull say that the cars are equal, but I don't believe that for 1 second with the way that they support Sebastian Vettel so much. So in my opinion, for the Malaysia incident, they should have punished Sebastian Vettel a lot harder than they did. You've seen, drivers be suspended for a race, fined heavily. Nothing happened to Sebastian Vettel. I wonder what would have happened if Mark Webber did that. I think that's a food for thought there. So looking at the Formula 1 news at the moment, we will not be going to India next season. And they've slashed the prices in half to try and get a lot of crowd numbers in to try and make some money for that race. And yet again, the Korean Grand Prix is under threat as well. But I think, to be fair, I understand why these two Grand Prix could be going. They're not making as much money as they should be. And yes, I know Bernie Eccleston's trying to make the sport more very global, bringing different countries together, and try and develop a country in a way by, providing a lot of advertisement and money forced into a country through Formula 1, but it's not getting the returns. And plus, there was the prospect with the New Jersey Grand Prix coming in, the Austrian Grand Prix coming in, the Russian Grand Prix coming in. There's a lot of 3 new Grand Prix, and there was a proposed 22 Grand Prix for next season. And I think that's as much as I love Formula 1, as much as if there was a 22 Grand Prix, I'd love to go. And coverage all those 22 Grand Prix on F1 Breakdown. It's a bit too much for the teams because these teams, they're still human beings. These people still have families, that they have to see, and you're being away with the test that there is starting in January now for 2014, going all the way through to November. That's a long time away from home because you'll have that first stint where they're away from home for about a month and you go back for a couple of weeks. And then you're off again, and you're still working in that time anyway, going to the factory, so you're not seeing your family as much. So I think 22 races is a lot, really, and there's a lot of back-to-back weekends then, 22 Grand Prix weekends, so you can't really go home. And I think it's just unfair on the teams, and you're trying to cut costs, and and you're forcing teams to having basically 2 different race teams, because I'm sure one race team going to 22 Grand Prix won't be very happy going to 22 Grand Prix, considering how much time they do away from home, the filming days, the PR days that they got to do, elsewhere, off the F1 calendar. There's no time to go home. So I think, yes, we do need to cut the Grand Prix. Maybe 20 Grand Prix is the limit. 19 probably is best, because you've got to remember, as much as we love Formula 1, there's still, actual people involved, and actual people have to make sacrifices for the things, yes, that they do and what they love to do. But at the end of the day, there's knockoffs on families that we can't really ignore at this present time, which I think would be unfair. But that is basically it so far for silly season and for all the news that we've had so far. You can find out more. There'll be more blogs being posted up through the summer break to try and keep your Formula 1 interest and needs. We'll be looking at different topics, what has actually made the Formula 1 more exciting, and season reviews of teams, and maybe more podcasts on reviews of teams as well. So there's still a lot to come from us at F1 Breakdown, over the coming weeks, over through the summer break as well, until we hit the Spa, where normal service resumes. And apart from that, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube. And that's it, basically. Have a lovely summer. Enjoy whatever you're doing, and we will see you again for the Belgium Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time. Thank you very much. Goodbye.